given moment, we have two options: step forwards into growth or step back into safety. Dare to succeed and share a moment with us in the moment.
Hello and welcome to another episode of In the Moment with Vicky and Alice. How are you doing with your mouth full of juice?
Water, actually.
Water.
Water. Yeah, I'm good. I am good. Photo shoot next week.
Exciting. You got your outfit?
Outfits.
Oh, multiple. Check you out.
I've literally got a whole drawstring bag that's like this big, just full, because I'm like, don't have a clue what I'm going to wear. Like, I know it's going to be some sort of like fishnets, because Erin was saying like fishnets look really, really good on camera. So I've actually got a really nice fishnet body suit that's like long sleeved.
Is it a sexy shoe? It's not a fitness shoe.
Is it? No, it's an underwear one.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So it's gonna be good. We're so we're all in a group chat, and we're all like sending sets and stuff, and like, what the fuck do we wear, kind of thing. I think a lot of the girls have like smaller boobs, so they've been really struggling to find stuff, and they've obviously dieted for it, so that's made it a little bit worse. But yeah, I think we're just gonna have like a fashion show the night before and just kind of do a catwalk and parade around the Airbnb to try and decide what we're gonna wear.
That'll be interesting. I'm sure if you filmed it, you'd get a lot of money for that.
Oh god. But I'm gonna do the heatless curls for the shoot, and I am so
your hair's been doing amazing with that.
Have you tried it?
No, because I probably can't move my arm well enough right now.
Oh yeah, you won't be able to.
And B, because I don't quite get the concept of how it's done.
I could show you.
Like, I've seen it on loads on TikTok, and they use their tie thing from the dressing gown, don't they?
Yeah, that's what I use.
But no, I haven't quite figured out the concept of how you grab the hair from the back.
So you would literally, I wonder if there's something in here I could use. There'll be something. I've got a dressing.
Oh, dressing gown, that's what they're called. I forgot those.
Yeah. So I used to do it where I would put my fringe in as well, but I've actually started doing it where I leave this bit out.
Yeah, I saw your fringe issue.
Yeah, and then I'll just like put it in like a band and then just wrap it around. So yeah, if I just pull that to one side, fuck, I look like a right mess. Anyway, so I tend to just do this when I'm sat in the bath. I'll just clip that on so it doesn't move, and then you literally just get like a bit from the front, and then you just wrap it round like that all the way around, and then just grab a bit from the back, probably, same kind of thickness, and that wraps around and then back through like that. And then that first bit, you would just add another bit onto it and then wrap it round.
And then go to the back again, and then go to the front.
Yeah. Yeah. It looks like, once you've done it, it looks like you've braided it, but you actually haven't. You've wrapped it around like that. And then you just keep adding. And then when you get to the bottom, you just wrap it around. And then you would just tie it like that. That's literally it.
I mean, you look so sexy right now.
I did my check-in pictures with them the other week, and Erin was like, I literally can't believe you've got that in your hair. Like, yeah. So I'm going to do that for the photo shoot.
Yeah.
But I think, because I've been doing it the night before, and then I wake up and it's like really like ringlety. But it's almost like it adds a little bit too much volume. So I actually like it when it's only been in my hair for like an hour or two. So I think what I'll do the morning of the shoot, I'll just put it in like first thing in the morning and then just leave it in until we get there and like after I've had my makeup and stuff done. And then I can just whip it out.
Good idea.
Yeah. So yeah, it's fantastic. Need to give it a go.
Yeah, I will when I get my arm in full use again.
Are you able to just like bend it there?
Yeah, but I struggle. No, I probably could do it.
Because you literally just need to grab it as if you were plaiting it like that.
Yeah, I probably could do it.
So you might be okay.
I've organised. Oh my god! I've just realised I've organised food for my friend's birthday on Saturday. Going out for food and drink.
Oh,
And
so is that the day of FitX?
no, that's this Saturday. FitX is next Saturday, isn't it? Yeah, this
So,
Saturday is the 6th, and then we're FitX is on the 13th.
oh yeah, that's the photo shoot. Yeah. So yeah,
So
weekend after.
I organised it for the 6th, and now I've just realised I might not even be in the country, so I'm gonna have to sort that out, aren't I?
Yeah.
Yeah, so on today's podcast, we wanted to like follow on from last week's podcast
Yeah.
about periods.
Lovely.
Yeah, and about like sugar cravings. So I generally can honestly say I don't get sugar cravings on my period because I get sugar cravings every day of my life.
Yeah.
And I'm not permanently on my period, but I sometimes crave like weird things. Like sometimes I crave, I don't know, just something really unusual. Like I might be like, really fancy like an omelette.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of omelette, but it just really random foods that just suddenly come in my brain. And I'd be like, oh, I just fancy. So
I get that too.
Huh?
I get that too, but it's like literally the randomest things.
Yeah, not even like stuff that I necessarily would be like unhealthy, just random stuff.
Yeah.
So what causes sugar cravings around menses?
Well, it's not even sugar cravings. I think it's just like cravings in general. Because, like you say, it's not always necessarily sugar stuff, sugary stuff, but like they say sugar is like more addictive than cocaine, don't
That
they?
explains why I've been so fat, really, doesn't
But like, I think it's like mid to late luteal. So you would maybe say like 7 to 10 days before you actually come on, your BMR naturally rises. So that means that your body naturally burns more energy. So that's why we literally want to eat everything inside because our body is burning more than what it is normally.
So then I guess how do you like from like a female perspective, it's difficult, isn't it? Because then you think, well, that gives me the green light to go and eat what I want. But
well, no, because you would still eat, like for my clients, I always say, like protocols would be try and reduce as much, well, anything that's going to be fatigue contributing. So like I always suggest, either reduce volume in the gym or just deload. So no training, no cardio. Still go out and get your steps because steps don't really require much energy. But then food would be brought up to maybe 300 plus calories just to compensate for the fact that your body is actually burning more energy. So you therefore need to give it more as you would on a training day. The energy requirement is increased on a training day. That's why you have more food on a training day. And then days that you don't train, your food should be lower.
How does it work? When people say that when you crave certain foods, it's linked to like something
like a deficiency.
Yeah, so like they say chocolate is like magnesium, don't they?
I've never heard that one. I've heard what's the red meat one? If you're craving red meat, then you lack an iron.
Yeah.
Heard of that one before.
I would have thought like orange would be like vitamin C or something.
I mean, you could.
But you can get like a whole list of supplements, can't you?
Yeah.
That And next to it will say like if you're craving this, it's because you've got a lack of this, or like zinc. There's something that sort of zinc. I can't remember what it is.
I think zinc is overall fatigued. I
Oh well,
think.
I'm fucking lacking zinc then. That's what's wrong with me. I need to get some zinc.
Go to the shop, get yourself some zinc sorted.
Sorted. Yeah, how true do you think that is?
I don't know, to be honest, I think I mean, we never really know, do we?
I feel like in some cases maybe it would have a bearing. Like I definitely think if your body is lacking something, it would do its best to engage that with you to know that you're lacking something. But I don't always think that, I take magnesium tablets and I still want chocolate. So
Yeah.
I'm not really sure the magnesium is linked to my chocolate issue.
I don't really know what the whole craving is like with chocolate. Like, why do we crave it? It'll probably be the sugar.
Yeah, and like you said that it gives that sort of I think it's partly like from a psychological level to do with the fact that it's considered bad.
Mm.
And I think it's that thing around
Seeking that dopamine hit, isn't it?
yeah, I'm having something bad, I'm going to treat myself. That's
Yeah.
the narrative we play as to why people would necessarily go towards chocolate. That's what
Yeah.
I think. I don't think there'll be a deficiency in your body that makes you crave chocolate.
No.
Like mine definitely is
Very
more of a
unlikely.
psychological thing.
Yeah. I guess you could say from like a comfort perspective as well, because it's that short-term pleasure, isn't it, with chocolate?
Yeah, and you
And
mentioned stuff about spiking your sugars, and then when you
yeah,
dip again, you then want to spike them again to make
yeah,
yourself feel better. So
yeah,
if chocolate's constantly making you feel better as it spikes, then of
for a
course you're
short
going to
period
go
of
back
time.
to the thing that's making you feel better. A bit like alcohol, isn't it? But
Yeah,
we all know that alcohol is a depressant, and yet when we feel depressed, we drink because
yeah.
in that
It's
short
it's
moment,
cycle. Yeah,
I have literally this week genuinely felt like I could easily go back to smoke a pack of 20 and down alcohol. I was in the
like
shop today.
that. Was it 2 weeks ago when were things crap and I was on the phone to you.
I would say
Probably
that'd be about 2 weeks, yeah.
2 weeks ago. I was literally at that point where it was probably the most stressful month of my life, to be honest. Like my hair was falling out. There was like a huge chunk of my hair that fell out. My period was like 7 days late. Um, and I had those few days where I was like, I could fall straight back into full sabotage mode right now. I had that urge to binge drink. I had that urge to eat shit and just sabotage myself because the stress was just exhausting. And like again, reverting back to what provides us comfort, I know when I have a drink, if I'm worried or stressed about something, it just makes it disappear for a moment. And the thought of that was like really comforting. Obviously I didn't go into full sabotage mode, but I
That's
had the thoughts.
definitely what like this for me this week has been. It's like escapism.
Yeah,
I have flicked through so many things. It's like I've gone back into like my old brain. That's how I could only describe it, as if my old brain is trying its hardest to find a way to make me feel better. So I've gone back
yeah,
to thinking like, oh, do you know what? I might just go to the bingo. So I used to go to the bingo every night of the week. I gambled really heavily. I was like, fuck it, I'll just go to the bingo. And then I was like, but you don't even like bingo anymore. And then I was in the shop and there was like a litre bottle of this cherry vodka from Smirnoff that I really wanted to try. And I was like, but why would you do that? Like, this will end
yeah,
badly. And then I was
yeah,
like, oh, I could just crave a fag right now. My brain literally has just flicked through the motions of everything. And I mean, originally, before all those thoughts, I was telling myself I need a holiday. But then I was like, but I physically can't do a lot right now. I don't want to waste money. I've not got like a solid income. And and was finding all the reasons not to. And I can't go in the sun, and I can't sunbathe because of the scars. Like,
Yeah.
so I'd gone through all that bit. Then I was like, oh, I'll get a massage. And then I was like, oh, well, I'll go for a spa day. Well, what if I just go and stay with some friends for a week? Like, it tried all those things and then picked all the faults in those things. And then it went back to my easy ones. My easy ones is to have a fag, to go and drink.
Because it's just so like easy, except like it's like accessible. That's the word, isn't it? Yeah, because you could literally just drive to the shop. Although, like us, we have like a cabinet thing in the kitchen, and it's literally just all there. Like the alcohol is all there. And yes, we have like sweets and chocolates and stuff in the house too. So, but for me, what brought me back round was thinking about obviously how hard I've worked over the past 4.5 months to get to where I'm at right now, which is probably the most optimal place I've been in my bodybuilding career. And then I think about the person I want to be, where I want to go, and like if I was to give in to these temporary thoughts, where's that going to land me? It's literally all the thoughts I had post show, but I gave into them. I actively gave into them, and I was drinking every night. I was binging on like cookies and stuff like that. And I soon like, Jesus, I was like 4 or 5 months behind. So I had to catch up on that. And like that's been hard. And I just remember how unhappy I was with how I looked and how I felt, like how I felt in clothes. I just remembered all of those feelings, and I was like, I am not actively going to choose to put myself back there. And that's what pulled me out.
I always feel like that is the way to do it, because that's how you keep yourself on track. Because
Yeah, it helps massively.
I feel
And I
like the
think,
reason I struggle so much is because I completely disassociate. So even in my like therapy session I had this week, I said to her, I feel like I've never had surgery. I feel like my life has never been any different to what it is now. That I never moved to Newcastle, that I never owned my own house. I've always just lived with mum. I feel like the whole chunk of my life I've just completely disassociated from.
yeah.
And it's like
Do you choose to actively do that then? Or
no,
is it like an automated thing that just happens?
it happens, and it's only when I become aware that something is wrong that I realise I've done it. So like now,
Right.
now I'm aware I've done it, and obviously what I work through in that therapy session is what has happened in order for me. So normally, if I disassociate, it's because of a significant trauma. So my trauma response is to disassociate and be like, well, that's not me. I can be safe
Yeah.
because that didn't happen to me. So that's my disassociation, and it would only occur. And I put this on the post now, so I'll speak freely about it. But I've had like nightmares since my surgery, and I'm aware of the feeling that happens in the nightmare and how horrific it is, but I don't know what's happening in the nightmare. I can't remember the nightmare to know how I'm getting there. But I know that bit. I know a memory consciously that happened during my surgery about waking up and not being able to move.
Yeah.
And I know recently I've been struggling to go to my stepdad's grave. So I was putting like all these pieces together. Oh, and I also had intercourse for the first time since surgery like a month ago. Because I've been
And how was
terrified.
that?
It was awful. Fucking hated it. It really was like, and I felt awful for him. Like we literally like had sex, and then I left literally straight away, which I'd never do. I felt awful for him. Like the whole thing I found really traumatic.
Really?
Yeah, and we've been like sleeping together for over 2 years now, but over about a year and a half. So it's not someone I'm unfamiliar with. It's not someone I'm not safe with. It's not any of those things. It wasn't just a randomer, but it shook me to my core. So I knew all these things that had happened, but what I couldn't do is piece together what was going on. Like, I feel so shit. I feel in a high peak state of anxiety. I'm not adhering to plan. I have this compulsion to buy food that I then don't, I literally have a bite of and don't want. Like,
Yeah.
there was so many things happening that I was consciously aware of, but I couldn't understand how they all linked. So what the therapy did was help me understand that actually what's happened in my conscious brain after surgery, when I woke up and wasn't in control, triggered a real early childhood memory of abuse, like being sexually abused,
Yeah.
that led me back into my fight and flight state. So no wonder when I had intercourse, it felt dirty, wrong, and disgusting, and I hated myself, because
Yeah.
that's what I felt as like a 3-year-old.
Yeah.
But I didn't know. So then my compulsion for eating is because of the strong and fat thing. But if I'm not being at the gym, which is physically difficult for me right now, that I'm not then safe. And I've said for you for ages that I find training days easier to stick to food, but as soon as a rest day comes, I like lose my way. And that's that psychological thing of feeling like I'm not strong, I'm fat, so I'll eat like a fat person to be safe.
Yeah.
And it's all those links, but how that all played together is now made me realize that I disassociated now because I disassociated then. I've gone back to my trauma response because it's the only one I know.
Yeah.
So then when I'm having a bad day, struggle to remember actually, like, you've lost over 10 stone. You've just had, like, people always say to me, you've just had fucking 2 surgeries, like major surgeries 4 months ago. Like, you've moved down the country again, you've moved back in with your parents, you've started like a business, you're doing all these things, and you're still feeling like you're putting pressure on yourself. Because in my
Yeah.
head, like, and I just think, well, what's your problem? Like, that's normal, like, everybody should be like that. And they're like, you came home to rest. I'm like, well, I am resting, but I'm not. But
Yeah.
reality is that I, like, can't remember ever in my life not being like this. And actually, what I've done since I've come back is do more and more and more and more, because I didn't want to sit with what was actually going on in my brain, which
Yeah.
again was my old technique. Like, I did 2 jobs. I finished one job at 5 o'clock in the afternoon and went straight to my domiciliary care till 10 at night, got back up at 7 next morning and did it all again, like 7 days a week, just to avoid sitting in my head.
Yeah.
And that is literally what I've done again. Because it's crazy how your brain, and that's like the godsend for me, that I'm fortunate that I can afford therapy.
Yeah.
And that I literally messaged her, didn't I, like at like
Yeah. Like
9
really
o'clock.
last minute, wasn't it?
9 o'clock on whatever night it was, and I was like, have you got any sessions? And then she was like, 1
Yeah.
o'clock.
Yeah. It's good.
She's so good, she's absolutely lovely. But I wish I could be more like that mentality of remembering how shit this feels, because if I go back to Turkey and have this next lot of surgery, I will probably forget the whole conversation we've had before this podcast about how shit I feel right now.
Yeah.
That'll all be gone. I'll just
Yeah.
forget. Like, it's just,
Yeah.
it's weird. It's so weird.
Do you think you maybe struggle like being in the moment?
No, because every day I'm so in the moment. Like, I'm so in the moment that I forget about everything else that's ever happened. Like, it's bizarre. Like, I can really embrace the moment I'm in, but that moment when it's gone, it's done. So, like, the truck pull, I was like crying. I was ecstatic that I actually pulled the truck. And then after, I was absolutely buzzing. I went out on the piss the next day. Done, finished. Right, we're on to the next thing now. Like, it's
Well,
like,
that's fine, isn't it? Surely, like you don't need to be like, oh, I did this like every day.
no, but I forget the feeling of what it was like to pull the truck. And the only way I recall it is when I visually see it happening. So thank God for videos, because when I look back at videos and when I struggle, that's how I guess I manage a bit more, is I flick through my TikTok and I look at my Ben Nevis video and how proud I was that I got to top Ben Nevis. And I look at my bungee jump video and I think, fucking hell, like I did that.
Yeah.
Because had I not videoed it, I literally wouldn't think it ever happened. I'd gaslight myself into thinking it never happened.
I guess I could probably say the same about going on stage. Like, I don't feel like I competed last year, and I can't remember what it felt like to be on stage.
But
All I
then
know,
what you say about prep is a trauma. Like it's
yeah, if
mentally
it's
and
done wrong,
physically traumatic that you go on, and people describe it all the time as robot mode. That's what happens. You
yeah,
go on robot mode. So therefore, your thinking, your emotional brain really is defunct. It is
yeah,
traumatic for
because
your body and brain.
when you're in prep, you're in this little bubble, and like you're so focused on the end goal, which is obviously stage, that nothing really outside of that bubble comes into consideration. Like you're not really nothing is it's just you in this bubble. And so oh, I'm doing prep like this and that. And then once stage is done, once that big moment is done, your bubble pops and reality hits you.
And
And
most,
then you're faced with all these emotions, and it's like,
but most people talk about that, especially for their first show. And from what I like, the people I follow and have read and stuff, everybody basically says, like, your first show, you must be at such peak anxiety. It is unreal. Plus the fact that you drink red wine for purposes
yeah,
of dehydration. So not only are you drinking depressants, your body is seriously like malnourished. Your mind is absolutely fucked.
depleted.
And then you get on that stage at peak anxiety because now you're in a pure thing of being judged, falling over, all the things that could possibly go wrong. But of course, when it's over, the stress is just going to bin that thought because it was too much.
Yeah.
That is too much for your body. But then the second time you compete, people say is like better because you have more of an understanding. Like no one prepares you to walk in a room and stand naked with girls having a spray tan. Do you
See,
know
that
what I
didn't
mean?
bother me. That didn't bother me at all.
But how many
Um,
people would that bother? If you're naive to prep, to like the reality of the show, that and some people might go in blind to those sorts of things, but how anxious is it that you're going to be judged and everyone in them tents is your competition? You're stood
yeah,
there staring naked at other people's tits and vaginas at your competition, and you will
yeah,
be comparing every inch of their muscle to every inch of yours.
yeah. That's just the competitive nature of it. And I think if you go into a prep not already knowing all of this stuff, then I would argue that it's probably too soon. I do feel like you should try and gather as much information about prepping and stage and post show as what you can before you actually decide to prep.
And some people like wouldn't know, but I do think once you've done it once, and once you know what it's like to be on that stage, and after your first time, you often end up, from what I can gather, meeting other people who are at the same level as you, and then you follow each other, and then people like train together or they chat a bit more. So you
Sometimes,
create a
yeah.
bit more of a circle. So then there's comfort in you're no longer on your own doing this prep. Like the other people understand what each other's going through. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, like if you're prepping at the same time, like Jesus, during my prep, I spoke to people just generally about the process and the struggles, and then never spoke to them again after I competed. So sometimes you can only really relate to those who are going through it at the same time, or somebody who has been through it.
Yeah.
It's really, really hard for you to try and relate to somebody who's in prep, because if you've never been through it, you don't understand and you can't provide any kind of beneficial advice.
That's what like I feel when you said earlier, what would you tell someone who's in your situation now?
Yeah.
That is literally what I feel about how the up and all that has been.
Yeah.
Unless you have done this, you have no idea. And
Yeah.
I would argue that I was that naive person that went into prep and didn't know that you have to stand there naked with girls, because I went and had an operation and purposely kept myself away from
Yeah.
what could possibly go wrong, like how awful recovery might be, because I didn't want to make it worse for myself. But as a result, maybe I pushed myself too far because I was ill informed.
Mm.
Do you know what I
Do you
mean?
think a better mindset to have would be to say in rather than say, oh, what could go wrong? Like what can go right? Like what can go well out of this?
I feel like you have to be prepared for
Because
maybe.
you almost don't want to like set yourself up for disappointment, but then you also
Yeah,
don't want to go into something with a negative mindset of being like, oh my God, what could go wrong?
I feel like knowledge is power when it's used constructively.
Mm.
So you can gather all the information regarding something that you want, but then you need to take all that information and use it constructively. That's what I
Yeah.
think. So, have knowledge of the if buts maybe is what could go wrong, have knowledge of what can go right, how this will progress you, your life, your goals, your dreams, your aspirations, all that sort of thing. And then I think you then evaluate where it sits realistically.
Yeah. Yeah, that
Realistically,
makes
am I
sense.
going to go on this stage and win? Well, probably not, because she's got a really, really good physique. However, I'm going to give it my best shot because this is
Yeah.
my moment and I've worked really hard for that. So I
Yeah.
guess setting yourself that realistic thing, you know, no point. I don't feel like there's any point in doing anything with an arrogant attitude of like, well, I'm going to win, because that's like an ego fueled thing, in my opinion. Um, but equally, like, I don't feel you should ever negate your achievement in that.
Yeah. I think
Um,
if you go in knowing that you have given absolutely everything, you couldn't have given any more, and you are literally putting your best out there, that's all you can do. You can't control what anybody else is doing.
yeah, so like with the art, I did know of possible things that could go wrong, because unless you
Yeah.
live under a rock, you obviously hear all sorts about turkey
Well,
surgery.
there's everything. It was the same with me with my boobs. Like they were saying, you could get that what's that contracting thing where basically the body doesn't agree with the
Oh,
implant
like
and it
rejects them
rejects
and
it.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Where it goes like really tight and it's like up here. Like that was a possibility. There was also you could be massively allergic to it.
Yeah, so
Uh
those sort of things never crossed my mind. I probably had more fear about having like, I don't know, like a wonky boob or an
yeah,
infection that then sprawled when you see them horrible, disgusting infections, or like the belly's half open. And
yeah,
there's probably more things in my head than
yeah. Well,
I
I
support.
actually got an infection in mine. So because I just had they were like invisible scars and they had like the steri strips on. And after I think it's 7 days after you're up, you take the steri strips off. But on this side, there was like a little bit of a scab just on the corner. Um, and I think it must have like tugged it or something, the taking the steri strip off. And I remember wearing like this bra thing that was different to my post-op bra a couple of weeks later. And then woken up and this scab had obviously come off and it was just like infected and it just got worse and it was making me unwell. So, and like your first fear is like, oh my God, I'm going to lose my tit. Because it was like you could see in it
Oh my God.
and it was like the size of a pea. I know that doesn't sound very big, but when it's like in your like on the boob there, you're like panic. You're like, oh my God. And like I was trying to like clean it and get all the stuff out. But in the end, I had to go on penicillin and touch wood, everything's been fine since. But even just going on the penicillin knocked me for like 10 days.
I do feel like
Scary.
I am a firm believer in mind and body. And if I went in with a really anxious mind, the outcome of how my wounds healed might have been quite different. If I'm depleted and I'm tired and I'm anxious, I feel like you drain so much energy that then your body just hasn't got it to repair. Which is also why I'm very worried about having to go back over, because I am in an anxious state.
You're already like in the floor.
And I know, yeah, it's just weird.
I think you just need to weigh up, because like I said to you, what are your other options? Like just carry on and suffer.
Yes, just for that the podcast.
Not knowing, like
I have one of the wounds under my arm is slightly opened again. I've been feeling like horrendously lethargic. I struggled with like shortness of breath, like 20 minutes of cardio puffs me out, and it didn't do before. I've got like swelling around like the abdomen. And I've got like I keep getting like pains in my side and my hip. So the surgery people have said about going back to sort things out, to have a look, to do bloods and all that sort of thing. And obviously, like, it's only been 4 months and it's very much imprinted in my head how difficult that all was. And it probably doesn't help, actually, now I think about it, that the second time I went for surgery, it was terrifying because it
might nearly die or something.
Huh?
You didn't nearly die, did you? You just needed a blood.
No, they couldn't find a vein. So when he put they were like, I was literally like the American story is Jesus, like nailed to a cross. And my arms were both out and my legs were down, and they were like banging on my limbs. I had like a monitor on my back so you could hear my heart rate around the room, like surround sound. Oh, excuse me. And I was in like a theatre room. So then they're banging on my limbs trying to find a cannula, and obviously I was swollen, a vein to put the cannula in. And they just put one in my arm and I was okay. And then he stabbed my foot, and then my heart was going. It was just, the whole thing was just terrifying. And I was really emotional because I convinced myself I was going to die. And so, like, saying bye to Chantel, I was just like, oh. So I just feel like that memory and how traumatic it was, I don't know. It's just bizarre, like how your brain. But that's the thing. Like I would say, because of my disassociation and I've been so focused on physically recovering, it's only in the last maybe 10 days to 2 weeks that I've finally like processed the emotion to the memories I was holding. So I could talk about it all before, but I hadn't processed any of it actually. Like it was just there in my memory, but the emotional part of my brain hadn't linked to the memory yet. Like it's just crazy. Anyway, so because of that, that's a good little segue. Because of that, Alice and I are going to end this season of In the Moment with this episode, and we'll come back with some new season and content when sorted my shit out, really.
Well, we might even do our next one like together, because I'll be in England for most of.
It's weird when you say that, like you live in like Spain or something, but you literally live in Scotland.
I know, but it's a different country, isn't it? So that would be interesting, I think. How would we do it?
I don't know. I was thinking about that, because how would we actually film it?
We'd have to do it like, do you know how Stephen Bartlett does his?
Yeah, but how do they actually record it?
Well, we would just have to sit like opposite a table. Although actually, no, I hate my side shot. So
yeah, but how do they actually record it? Like, what do they use to record it?
Oh, so it'll just be like we'll just have to set up like a camera or something there.
But like, what camera would you use? Like your phone camera?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we could just like
gym next door now. Bought the bike. I've got a massive mirror.
Yeah, that one you sent me.
And I've got a 2.2 meter mirror coming.
Nice.
By 1.20 meters coming on Tuesday.
Where did you get that from?
A guy on Facebook.
Oh, nice.
So that's coming to be in that room as well. So it'd be like a posing room. my tripod set up and the bike in there to do faster cardio. So
Nice. It's good. It's a good start to, building a really good routine.
So that's it from us then.
So
Till next
yeah,
time.
we will see you in a couple of weeks.